All right, so we started today by translating some expressions into words just to practice because you had a quiz today, and a lot of you really understood quickly that you have to say the sum of a number x and y multiplied by 4. You must be really clear that you have to add first. And then I had you give some instances to prove that this is true, that 4 times the sum of x and y is equal to 4x plus 4y. And several of you, each group came up and put an instance down, which is an example with numbers. So if x is 5 and y is 2, we add first and get 7, and 4 times 7 is 28. And 4 groups of 5 plus 2 is the same amount as 4 groups of 5 and 4 groups of 2. 4 groups of 5 is 20, 4 groups of 2 is 8, and 20 plus 8 is 28. And the fact that these two are the same proves an instance that this is equal to this. So that's what we got started on today. And then we checked your homework. And then we just talked about why does length times width work for a formula for the area of a rectangle. And I said, where do you see the repeated addition? And a lot of you saw right away, I've got 9 groups of 4. So adding 4 to itself 9 times is the same thing as multiplying 9 times 4. And I also have 4 rows of 9 squares. So 4 times 9 is also 36. So because rectangles always have the same number of squares in each column and the same number of squares in each row, you can just multiply length times width, and that's a formula. And then in class we talked about the different ways in which sports use formulas. Like you can use a formula to calculate many statistics of players in different sports, like the batting average of a baseball player, or statistics about goals for a soccer player. In business, you use formulas all the time to calculate profits of a company, expenses of a company, net profit of a company. So we had lots of discussions about where you see these. In science, you see formulas all the time. If you're a pharmacist, you use a formula to make the combinations of elements and to create certain drugs that people need to get well. So you need to use formulas. They're very useful. You see them in real life all the time. So I had you figure out a formula for buying kebabs, corn on the cob, and drinks. So we said kebabs were $2.25 each, and K was going to be the number of kebabs I buy, and corn on the cob is 75 cents each, and C is going to represent the number of corn on the cobs I buy, and drinks are $1.50 each, and D was going to represent the number of drinks we buy. So you all wrote a formula, did a really good job with it, and you saw right away that if I buy 1 kebab, it's 1 group of 2.25. If I buy 2, it's 2 groups. If I buy 3, it's 3 groups. If I buy K, it's K groups of 2.25. So the price of 1 times the number of kebabs plus the price of 1 corn times the number of corns plus the price of 1 drink times the number of drinks gives us this formula to calculate the total cost for any number of kebabs, corns, and drinks. And then I said, okay, evaluate your formula. If we buy 2 kebabs, 3 corns, and 1 drink. And you all did that. You did 2.25 times 2. You did 75 cents times 3 and 1 drink. And then we talked about why you need to line up the decimals there so that you can see that you're adding tenths to tenths, hundredths to hundredths, and ones to ones. And that was $8.25 there. And then to make an algebraic expression into an equation is simply putting what it equals. So right now this is an expression. We're just simply giving the formula of what to do, but we're not saying what this equals. To change it into an equation, we simply need to put equals T, for example, the total cost. Or I could tell you the amount of the total cost. So that's the difference between an expression and an equation. Okay, then you use the formula to find the area of a rectangle, and I said beware, the units must be the same. So what I gave you was a 3-foot long rectangle that was 6 inches wide. And you can't multiply inches times feet because there's no such thing as a square inch foot or a square foot inch. You have to have the same unit so that we can talk about square inches or square feet. So first of all, you change these 3 feet into 3 groups of 12, which is 36 inches, and it was 6 inches wide, and 36 times 6 was 216 square inches. And then I said, okay, now calculate how many square feet it is. So it was 3 feet long, and 6 inches is a half of a foot because it takes 12 inches to make 1, and 6 is half of 12. So you did 0.5 times 3, and you got 1.5 square feet. And then I made you prove that 1.5 square feet is the same amount as 216 square inches. So we took 1 square foot and multiplied 12 inches by 12 inches because there are 12 rows of 12 in a square foot. That's 144 square inches in 1 square foot. And this was 1.5 square feet, so we needed another half of that, which is 72. We added them together and got 216, so we proved that they are the same amount. All right, and then we actually did some measuring. You measure the width of your textbook and the height of your textbook. Some of you got 20.7 centimeters and some of you got 20.8, and we talked about how measurement's never perfect and the rulers could be slightly different. It's hard to tell whether it's 0.7 or 0.8, so we accepted both of these. And then all of you agreed that your math book was 26 centimeters tall. So length times width of that rectangle equals the area. So it was around 538 to 540 square centimeters. And then to find the shaded area, a lot of you figured this out. If I find the area of the big square, which is 10 squared or 100, and I want to rub out the blue that would be here, I want to subtract it by erasing it. So I find the area of the small square, which is 5 squared, 25 square centimeters. And the difference, if I rub that out, the difference is the blue. And the blue part is what the question was asking about. Find the area of the shaded part. And then we were going to practice some, but we pretty much ran out of time because you had a quiz today. So for homework, you get to choose the basic or the challenge. Either way, please show your steps. And that's it for today. Check out your quiz score on the Gradebook Online. If you got anything like 14 or less out of 20, you need to see me to do a retake. All right, so just learn from your mistakes and retake it with me at lunch or after school. And we'll talk in class about what days that is.